Good afternoon and welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Firstly, in this year of the virus, I wish you safety for you, your family, and everyone around you. Let me start with macro thoughts. On the 22nd of March, I said COVID-19 in a rolling, sudden, hard stop. And that we are moving from a world of hyper-connectedness to a world of quarantine. And actually, I don't think anything is going to be the same again. A complete quarantine is the only way to vaccine this 21st century world of ours. Bill Gates said coronavirus has started behaving a lot like the once-in-a-century pathogen we've been worried about. And really, it is the price of crude oil which is perfectly correlated to this COVID-19 hard stop. Q1 crude oil down 66%, and personally I'm expecting it to go even lower, in point of fact. I just simply don't see how they're going to be able to get oil any higher. Oil creates the illusion of a completely changed life, life without work, life for free. Oil is a resource that anesthetizes thought, blurs vision, corrupts, kindles extraordinary emotions and hopes, since oil is above all a great temptation. It is the temptation of ease, wealth, strength, fortune. It is a filthy, foul-smelling liquid that squirts obligingly up into the air and falls back to earth as a rustling shower of money. Ryszard Kapuściński, Shah of Shahs, no more. Hunter S. Thompson describes it better, the edge, and this is speaking to what I envisage as regime implosion in many parts of the world. There is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is, that being the edge, are the ones who have gone over. Read this from Goethe's 1831 drama Faust, from W. Middlecoop, and it says a lot about where we're headed into the print shop, as Scott Burke 777 described it, and that's why I remain bullish on gold. As I said on the 24th of February, at this point I would venture gold is correlated to the coronavirus, which is set to turn parabolic and is already non-linear and exponential. 22nd of March, I still believe gold will soon turn viral to the upside, and I'm looking for more than $2,000. We had a torrid session yesterday, but we're currently at 1590, and I for one think will hold this level and turn higher again. Home thoughts, because it's April, I turn to T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. April, I won't read it all, it's quite a long poem, I'll just read a few excerpts. April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. You gave me hyacinths first a year ago. They called me the hyacinth girl. Yet when we came back late from the hyacinth garden, your arms full and your hair wet, I could not speak and my eyes failed. I was neither living nor dead, and I knew nothing. Looking into the heart of light, the silence, Oed und Leer das Meer. Unreal city under the brown fog of a winter dawn, a crowd flowed over London Bridge, so many, I had not thought death had undone so many. Sighs, short and infrequent, were exhaled, and each man fixed his eyes before his feet. Doubled the flames of 7-branched candelabra, reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of her jewels rose to meet it. From satin cases poured in rich profusion. In vials of ivory and coloured glass, unstoppered lurked her strange synthetic perfumes, unguent, powdered or liquid, troubled, confused, and drowned the sense in odours. I think we are in Rat's Alley, where the dead men lost their bones. What is that noise? The wind upon the door? What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing. Again, nothing. Do you know nothing? Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing? And then Don DeLillo, everything is barely weeks, everything is days, we have minutes to live. I wrote about the origins of the coronavirus, and I was quoting Don DeLillo from the book Libra. In that he says there's always more to it. This is what history consists of. It is the sum total of the things they aren't telling us. There are dead stars that still shine because their light is trapped in time. Where do I stand in this light, which does not strictly exist? We can put a man on the moon, but we can't cure the coronavirus. Neil Tyson. Surreal shot, this is of New York, but it's very real. Red Dog T3. Total number of cases in New York as of yesterday was 67,325, and that was from Remy GMI. This is the Congo River estuary in Diani, photo by Aga Shenspanska. It's a fantastic place, it really is, to visit. There's a very old Muslim church, Muslim mosque there as well, and some very old baobabs. Political reflections as of John Hopkins earlier today, 859,556 cases, total deaths 42,332. Taiwan did not beat the coronavirus because of Confucianism, full stop. They are doing well because their vice president is an epidemiologist with previous experience with SARS, and they have a strong public health sector with an emergency command center. And I concluded by saying Merkel is a scientist, the populist hocus-pocus magical thinkers are virucided by the COVID-19. A reality TV star botched the response to a global pandemic, and now we're all imprisoned in our homes and forced to watch him daily. Today we will reach the 800,000 mark globally, we've crossed it, on track to reach 1 million confirmed cases by Friday. That's Remy GMI. And as I wrote on the 16th of February, viruses exhibit non-linear and exponential characteristics. Everyone needs to stop thinking COVID-19 numbers today are today's numbers. They're not strictly the past. The present is the past. They reflect transmission between 12 to 18 days ago, onset and course of illness 7 to 14 days ago, hospitalization and testing 7 to 1 day ago. Strictly, the present is the past. That's why I wrote in my last article, we're looking in the rear view mirror. The USS Theodore Roosevelt, currently docked in Guam, has more than 100 sailors infected with the coronavirus, The captain of a nuclear aircraft carrier with more than 100 sailors infected with the coronavirus pleaded Monday with the US Navy officials for resources to allow isolation of his entire crew and avoid possible deaths in a situation he described as quickly deteriorating. Palladium. The virus may be the most dangerous adversary America has ever faced. It's like the US was invaded. The normal defenses fail, it can't be bombed, bank accounts can't be frozen, unbreakable morale, no supply chain, lives off the land, infinite reinforcements, fully decentralized. COVID-19 deaths in the US have exceeded the number of China. It is solely caused by US government's mishandling. Trump administration has failed the American people. That's Hu Ziyin, the editor of the Global Times. But then he had a sense of schadenfreude and wrote back a little bit. But I went, whoa, shots fired. Xi made a point of saying he was personally commanding the response to the outbreak. Most authoritarian leaders appear to believe in their own invincibility and immortality, I responded to Zito Kabwe. But this COVID-19 has a karmic quality. It's like a terminator, specifically with those who think magically. Google searches always reflect the times. In times of global lockdown, it's very interesting to play with the data. Simon German 600. And as I said, the zeitgeist of a time is expressed in those Google trends as its defining spirit or its mood. And the zeitgeist of 2020 is simply indescribable. International markets, what's certain is that the whole global economy has been hit by an insidious, literally invisible circuit breaker. Howard Marks makes a compelling case for why asset prices are poised for more losses. The conclusion of his memo is figure out what you'll want to buy at lower levels, then sell everything. That's via Lisa Abramovitz. The Dow Jones suffered its worst first quarter ever. Only one Dow member, Microsoft, ended Q1 2020 in positive territory with a 0.001% gain, while Boeing plunged 50%, a victim of moving from hyperconnectedness to quarantine. Chevron and Exxon sank around 40% after oil suffered its worst quarterly beatdown on record. And the virus is not correlated to endogenous market dynamics, but is an exogenous uncertainty that remains unresolved until now. Of the 4 million Airbnb hosts out in the world, 1/10 are considered superhosts. Yes, 400,000. Each superhost has 10, 20, 30 houses, each with a mortgage, average price $500,000, average down payment 7%. This is a ticking time bomb, a repeat of the 2008 fiasco. And they are the victims of this move from a world of hyperconnectedness to a world of quarantine. Currency markets, euro is at 109.80, dollar index 99.231, Japanese yen 107.59, Swiss franc 0.9622, pound is at 123.41, the Australian dollar is at 0.6074, Indian rupee 75.80, South Korean won 12.2966, Brazilian real 5.20, Egyptian pound 15.7394, South African rand is above 18 at a record low. Dollar index remains well supported in part because of this enormous multi-trillion dollar shortage globally. Euro dollar 109.82 last. Comparing the 2020 market drawdown with the two most recent stock market routes, 2020 30% at bottom so far. I think it's going to break through that. dot-com and early 2000s recession, 50%, global financial crisis, 60%, but the velocity of this current one was crazy, said David Inglis. Palladium markets, just a casual 50% drop and then a 64% rally in March. Nothing to see here. V. Patel FX. Emerging markets, as I said, we're moving from a world of hyper-connectedness to a world of quarantine. And the most hyper-connected of all places was Dubai. Emirates, the world's largest long-haul airline, will receive a state bailout in the form of new equity from its owner, the Dubai government. Sub-Saharan Africa, 12 countries with at least 100 cases. 5,368 confirmed cases, 178 deaths, 333 recovered patients, 47 affected countries, 12 countries with at least 100 cases. In nearly every country in the world, when the virus reaches 100, the number of cases begins to increase by 35% daily. At that rate, a country would reach 1 million cases just 31 days after reaching 100 cases. Shona Tiger tweeted this, Zimbabwe, and this is indeed an irony for most of Africa. And I wrote, a non-linear and exponential virus represents the greatest risk to a control machine in point of fact. And it represents the greatest risk to African leadership right now because they've been in the habit of glad-handing everybody and believing they were invincible. And this was the second part of Shona Tiger's tweet. 2nd of March, I was writing about COVID-19 in sub-Saharan Africa, and I said the first issue is whether the coronavirus will infect the continent, because there was a lot of skepticism then. That clearly is the case now. We know that the coronavirus is exponential, non-linear, and multiplicative. We know what exponential disease propagation looks like in the real world. Nothing, 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 then cluster, 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 then boom. One of my favorite reporters, Zikona Shona, did a great story on the COVID-19 man who left Alex to go to Tiznin. He traveled by taxi, he shared taps and toilets with neighbors, he went out for drinks and shared cigarettes. This is only the beginning, people. Viruses exhibit non-linear exponential characteristics. I calculate sub-Saharan Africa, and this was a few weeks ago, will contract in 2020. It will not be an exaggeration to say we're staring into the abyss of a zombie apocalypse, I wrote. Ethiopia postpones general elections because of the coronavirus. Hawassa Industrial Park announced it has temporarily dismissed 14,000 employees from today. The Director General of the park, Atto City, said that the workers were laid off due to the decline in market demand due to the corona epidemic. And we're going to see a lot more of that. South African All Shares down 22.06%. The Rand, as I've written before, is the purest proxy for this China emerging markets frontier feedback loop phenomenon, which was positive for 20 years and now has undergone a trend reversal. The Rand is just above 18. Egyptian pound 15.75, EGX 30 down 31.28% year to date. Nigerian Naira black market rate weakest in 3 years. Local unit traded at 415 Naira per dollar, which collates rates from street traders in Lagos. Traded at 386.51, highest it has traded in 24 years. The central bank in Africa's most populous country announced last week that it was suspending foreign exchange sales to money changers until further notice. A move, it said, was in line with curtailing the spread of coronavirus in the country. The foreign reserve is not at a comfortable level. If the major source of accretion is now pressured, exchange rate will feel the pain and the situation will worsen. I've written about it severally. In the Africa report, I said in an article headline, "Debt, Virus and Locusts Create a Perfect Storm for Africa." I said Nigeria's oil revenue is cratering. There is $16 billion of hot money parked in short-term certificates, which is all headed for the exit as we speak, and a currency devaluation is now predicted and predictable. 9th of December, I said it's time to big up the dosage of Quaaludes. That week, Moody's downgraded Nigeria to negative, and we learnt that foreign investors are propping up the Naira to the tune of $16 billion via short-term certificates. I said everyone knows how this story ends when the music stops. Everyone will dash for the exit and the currency will collapse, just like it's collapsing in Lusaka as we speak. Nigerian All Shares down 20.65%. Lusaka, Zambia Seeks Advisers for Reorganization of Foreign Debt. $11.2 billion. That's the visible part of the iceberg. Currency is the world's worst performer after Brazil. Foreign exchange reserves have fallen to a record low and cover less than 2 months of imports. $3 billion of Eurobonds have been trading at distressed levels, with yields on notes due in 2022 rising above 50%, and the bonds extended losses on Tuesday. They're at 51.96%. The Kwacha weakened 1.7% to 18.2960, the weakest level on record. I've been saying for a while that they've been popping Quaaludes in Lusaka. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 4.32% year to date. Kenya Shilling is at 105.15. Nairobi All Shares down 20.73%. The bottom 5 stocks year to date: Bamburi minus 40%, Nation Media minus 38.94%, Kenya Power minus 37.01%, Equity Bank minus 36.54%, Housing Finance down 35.29%. NSE20 is down 25.93%. Thank you for listening.